Good evening from Mission Control in Houston and the International Space Station Flight Control Room. You are looking live at the Soyuz MS-12 spacecraft that is docked to the Roscosmos module on the Earth-facing side of the Russian segment of the International Space Station. This is the e-ticket ride home a few hours from now for 3 of the crew members on the International Space Station to end their respective missions. So begins our live coverage this evening and through the early morning and overnight hours of the return to Earth of NASA astronaut Nick Hague, Russian Soyuz commander and outgoing Expedition 60 commander Alexey Ovchinin of Roscosmos, and visiting astronaut Hazzaa Ali Almansoori of the United Arab Emirates. They are in the process of activating that Soyuz spacecraft that you see in the field of view as the International Space Station flies 260 statute miles over the South Atlantic, about to begin a southwest to northeasterly track that will carry it across the Indian Ocean and across Malaysia a short time from now. Here in Mission Control, the shift handover is underway between the Orbit 3 and Orbit 1 teams of flight controllers. The Orbit 1 team will be presiding over the undocking of the Soyuz MS-12. That undocking scheduled about 3 hours and 50 minutes from now to begin the journey home for Nick Hague, Alexey Ovchinin, and Hazzaa Ali Almansoori, heading for a landing on the steppe of Kazakhstan to the southeast of the remote town of Roscosmos at 6 a.m. Central Time, 7 a.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Kazakhstan time on Thursday morning. Hague, Ovchinin, and Almansoori will leave behind on the International Space Station 6 other crew members. The new Expedition 61 commander, Luca Parmitano of the European Space Agency, in the middle of this crew portrait, and from left to right, NASA astronaut Drew Morgan, Russian cosmonaut Alexander Skvortsov, Russian cosmonaut Oleg Skripochka, and NASA astronauts Jessica Meir and Christina Cook, who will continue as the Expedition 61 crew on board the orbital outpost. Tonight's return home of the Soyuz MS-12 and its 3 crew members being supervised out of the Russian Mission Control Center on the outskirts of Moscow in the town of Korolyov, as you see in this view from a balcony camera in Russian Mission Control. They will be in charge of all of the operations leading up to the entry and landing of the Soyuz spacecraft, with the Russian search and recovery forces soon to deploy from the town of Karaganda to Roscosmos and then to board Russian Mi-8 helicopters to fly to the landing site for the recovery of the 3 crew members. The landing of Hague and Ovchinin along with Almansoori in a few hours. For Hague and Ovchinin, this comes full circle, culminating an odyssey of almost a year in length. It was back on October 11th, almost 1 year ago exactly to the day, October 11th, 2018, when Hague and Ovchinin lifted off on the Soyuz MS-10 spacecraft. They resulted in a launch abort 2 minutes after launch that resulted in a landing just 19 minutes from liftoff to landing. It was a safe abort. The crew was recovered safely. They were reassigned to their next mission on Soyuz MS-12 and launched back on March 15th, along with Christina Cook from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan, this time a successful climb to orbit for Hague, Ovchinin, and Cook. They arrived at the International Space Station for a docking to the Roscosmos module several hours after launch, about 6 hours after launch, and a 4-orbit rendezvous, as you see in this replay of their docking. The launch abort that Hague and Ovchinin survived back on October 11th of last year resulted in their reassignment just a few days later by the station program in concert with Roscosmos management, who quickly enabled Hague and Ovchinin to have a second chance at arriving at the International Space Station for a mission that now will result in a 203-day mission for Hague and Ovchinin. Here are your statistics for the crew for tonight. At the time of landing, a few hours from now, Alexey Ovchinin and Nick Hague will have accumulated 203 days on this mission to the International Space Station, 203 days in space and aboard the International Space Station, a journey of 3,248 orbits of the Earth, and a mission in which they have traveled 86.1 million miles. They saw the arrival of 9 visiting vehicles, the departure of 7 visiting vehicles during their time on orbit. For Hazzaa Ali Almansoori, the visiting astronaut from the United Arab Emirates, he launched last week, along with Alexey and Jessica Mir from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan, for an 8-day flight under an intergovernmental agreement between the UAE and Roscosmos. At the time of landing, Almansoori will have completed 128 orbits of the Earth at a mission of 3.3 million miles.
MRM2 right now. Camcorder is not activated. I will activate it on your bill. Give me the exact time of the hatch closure, and at that time I will activate the camera.
Early Wednesday morning, aboard the International Space Station and the Destiny Laboratory, all 9 crew members on the orbital outpost gathered for the traditional change of command ceremony, in which Alexey Ovchinin, the outgoing Expedition 60 commander, handed over command of the complex to Luca Parmitano of the European Space Agency, who became the 3rd European astronaut to command the international outpost. Let's take a look at a replay of this morning's change of command ceremony.
Я, Алексей Овчинин, командир экспедиции 60, передаю командование Луке Пармитано, командиру экспедиции 61 на борту Международной космической станции. Это был длинный, интересный полет. У нас было много интересной работы. Мы принимали различные транспортные с американской стороны, так и с российской стороны. Сейчас на борту Международной космической станции экипажа. Вместе с нами находится первый представитель Объединенных Арабских Эмиратов, Hazzaa Almansoori.
Spaceflight participant Hazzaa Almansoori from the United Arab Emirates. Together we're a great team. It's been exciting, it's been a thrill, it's been a ride. We've done it together and we've done it well, and to be honest with you, I want to stay back, I don't want to leave. I would like to stay back and continue working as part of this team, so thank you everybody for your support, for your help. It's been comforting and educational working with you all. And we're not saying goodbye, we're saying see you later.
I want to say
see you
big thank you
somewhere in space.
My crew, all MCCs, all people who prepared us, who supported, who helped us during our flight. Thank you very much. We are here on board the SS and you are on the Earth. We are together, very good team. Thank you very much and appreciate you for your help again. I want to say big thank you, my crew. It's outstanding team. It was very pleasant to work with you and I wish you all the best, space, health, and whatever you want. But time to change command. Luca, you will be next, ISS commander. I wish you interesting flight, successful flight, and all the best. This is a symbol of ISS commander. It's for you. Now you're ISS commander. My congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, Alexey. It wouldn't be proper for me to use too many words on the first day and on the day of the change of command because I haven't done anything yet. So I will pick my words carefully, because some words are special. They carry a lot of potential and they realize themselves the moment you say them. So the first words I want to use is gratitude. First of all, thank you, Alexey, for your leadership during this expedition 60. If it has been, and it has been, a successful expedition, it's been for thank to your leadership, because attitude is a reflection of that. Not only yours, but also Christina's as our USOS lead. Thank you for your leadership in this expedition. I will certainly use your example, both of yours example, to create my own way of leading. My great gratitude also goes to those who chose me to be commander for this expedition, and so the MCP, all the leadership of our agencies. But also I feel very grateful for my country that formed me, for the system that let me be here today through education, the school, the Air Force Academy, the Air Force, and all those that participated in my education. Thank you to all of them. The second word that I want to choose today is humility. I feel humbled not only by the task that we have in front of us as a crew, but also by the crew that I am with. I've never seen in one place such an incredible gathering of talented people, and I feel so humbled in their presence. I have so much to learn from them, and I'm very much looking forward to that. And the last word, that it's the first time that I use it, it's confidence. Thanks to the training that I've received, thanks to all the years of preparation, but mostly thanks, again, to the crew that I have, I feel confident that even though right now all the tasks that we have in front of us look daunting, we as a crew will make it happen. And 4 months from now, we'll be looking at this day and thinking, yes, that confidence that we felt, the confidence that we feel, we deserved it. And I will do the best that I can to be at your service to deserve your confidence. Thank you very much. Thank you all for listening to these words. What happens now?
Добрый день, экипаж ЦУП Москвы. Рад вас приветствовать. Экспедиция экипажа МКС-60 вошла в завершающую стадию. За эту экспедицию была проделана огромная...
You have done a great amount of work, Increment 60, and with that in mind, I would like to say congratulations and say I have a successful and safe, critical last part of your flight. And to the Increment 61, I would like to say fly safe and work well. You are complete with the handover of the station command. Congratulations, and now I would like to hand it over to MCCH folks. Thank you guys. Great job.
And on behalf of the ESA team, we would like to also congratulate Alexey for doing a great job as ISS commander. It has been a pleasure to work with you and the team under your command. And for Luca, what can I say? We're proud and looking forward to working with you as well in your new role. We would like to congratulate you also from the ESA team in becoming the third ISS commander and the first Italian. So all the best in your new role, and we're all cheering from our side. And with that, we would like to hand you over to Tsukuba.
Station Tsukuba on 2. Thank you very much for all 58 series crew. All of you are really hampanai in Japanese. Hampanai means incredible and awesome, and one of Nick's favorite Japanese word. I would really like to give you this great word for you, and please bring back this word to the ground. We really appreciate all of your support and strongly hope your safe travel to the ground. And for 59 series crews, we are looking forward to doing a lot of hampanai tasks. Thank you very much for all. I will hand over to Houston.
On behalf of the Houston team, thank you to the crew of Expedition 60 for an excellent increment.
Houston echoes all the wonderful words that have been said and would like to thank again Alexey for your leadership as station commander, Nick for your hard work as flight engineer, and Hazzaa as the first UAE astronaut. We are very proud of you all. We wish the 58 Soyuz crew a safe return to Earth and look forward to a productive and successful Expedition 61.
That was a replay of the change of command ceremony that took place in the Destiny Laboratory of the International Space Station on Wednesday morning. Luca Parmitano is the new space station commander for Expedition 61 that will formally begin with the undocking of the vehicle that you're looking at right now, the Soyuz MS-12 that is mated to the Rassvet module on the Earth-facing side of the International Outpost. At this hour, the Orbit 1 team of flight controllers here in Mission Control in Houston is on console, having completed a shift handover. They'll be presiding over this side of the station's business throughout the course of the overnight hours, working in concert with their Russian counterparts a half a world away. The flight director on console on the right side of your screen is Rebecca Wingfield. She is joined on console for this overnight shift by spacecraft communicator Adam Springer, who will be talking to the station crew when required throughout the course of the night's activities. But again, as we mentioned earlier, all of the Soyuz activity itself, supervising the preparations for undocking, the undocking itself, and entry and landing in the hands of the Russian flight control team at the Russian Mission Control Center in Korolyov on the outskirts of Moscow. The Soyuz spacecraft is a three-sectioned spacecraft. The upper and bulbous portion of that spacecraft is called the orbital module. That also contains the docking probe that will be activated soon prior to the actual undocking activities that are scheduled about 3.5 hours from now. The crew, once it enters the Soyuz and closes the hatch with the farewells and hatch closure scheduled just a few minutes from now, they'll be climbing into the center section called the descent module. That is the only section of the Soyuz spacecraft that survives entry and provides the crew the safe passage home for a parachute-assisted landing on the steppe of Kazakhstan. The lower section is called the propulsion module, the instrumentation and propulsion module, that contains the engines and all of the other propulsion plumbing that's required for the deorbit burn and for the control of the vehicle during its descent back into the Earth's atmosphere. Tonight's entry activities will begin with the undocking of the spacecraft that is scheduled for 2:37 a.m. Central Time. The springs will push off on both sides of the docking interface, enabling the Soyuz to separate from the Rassvet module for its descent back into the Earth's atmosphere. The deorbit burn, which will be 4 minutes and 42 seconds in duration, is a retrograde firing to slow the Soyuz down by 128 meters per second, allowing it to drop out of orbit for its high-speed entry back into Earth. The three sections of the Soyuz will pyrotechnically separate at 5:34 a.m. Central Time, enabling the descent module to have its heat shield in the direction of travel, repelling heat that will build up around the spacecraft to about 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit. As the Soyuz nears the landing site, a series of parachutes will be commanded to deploy. First a drogue chute, followed by 2 pilot parachutes, and then the main chutes that will guide the spacecraft down in a 15-minute descent from parachute opening until the time that the soft landing engines fire just a second or two before touchdown on the steppe of Kazakhstan at a landing site to the southwest of the town of Roscosmos. Landing is scheduled at 6 a.m. Central Time straight up. The landing site coordinates are 47.18 degrees north latitude, 69.34 degrees east longitude, about 91 miles to the southeast of the remote town of Roscosmos, where the Russian search and recovery forces will be standing by to extract the crew from the Soyuz spacecraft and put them into a medical tent to allow them to get out of their Russian Sokol launch and entry suits into more comfortable clothing for a 2-hour helicopter flight on 3 different helicopters back to the staging city of Karaganda to the northeast of the landing site, where they will split up with Ovchinin and Almansoori boarding a Gagarin Cosmonaut Training Center aircraft for a flight back to their training base in Star City, Russia, outside of Moscow, while Nick Hague boards a NASA Gulfstream jet that is on the runway at the Karaganda Airport for a flight back to Houston. The Russian search and recovery forces are in the town of Karaganda. Several hours from now, they'll be deploying on an Antonov 26 aircraft that you see in this graphic for a flight, about a 2-hour flight down to Zhezkazgan, where Russian Mi-8 helicopters are standing by for the boarding of the Russian search and recovery teams and the NASA team that is embedded with the Russian search and recovery forces this evening and throughout the overnight hours, which will be Thursday afternoon Kazakhstan time. The NASA team is led by Trisha Mack, who is the Director of Human Spaceflight Programs in Russia, and the station program represented at the landing site this evening by Kenny Todd, who's the Manager for Integration and Operations for the Space Station program. Gary Jordan from the NASA Public Affairs Office here at the Johnson Space Center is also with that team in Kazakhstan, along with NASA's chief photographer, Bill Ingalls, who will be providing all the photography of landing. We should have good weather for landing. The current forecast calls for clear skies, temperatures around 60 degrees Fahrenheit at landing time, with light winds out of the east-northeast. And with any luck at all, we'll see the Soyuz descending under its large main parachute for about the entire 15 minutes, hopefully, from the time those chutes are deployed until touchdown. That is again scheduled at 6 a.m. Central Time, 7 a.m. Eastern Time on Thursday, which will be 5 p.m. at the landing site in Kazakhstan, about an hour and 58 minutes before sunset. A few minutes from now, we should see the crew gathering in the Rosviet module of the International Space Station for their farewells with one another as Hague, Ovchinin, and Almansoori say goodbye to their 6 colleagues who will remain on board as the Expedition 61 crew. Expedition 61 formally begins at the point of undocking by this Soyuz MS-12 vehicle that you see in the view. Currently, the International Space Station is flying over the Indian Ocean from southwest to northeast in an orbit inclined 51.6 degrees to either side of the equator. Once Hague, Ovchinin, and Almansoori climb aboard the MS-12 into the descent module, they will close the hatch behind them. Alexander Skvortsov and Oleg Skropochka will close the station side of the Rosviet module's hatch. There will be a depressurization of the small vestibule or passageway in between the station and the Soyuz. The crew on board the Soyuz will conduct a leak check on their side of the docking interface to make sure that we have a tight seal and a good depressurization capability to enable that passageway to be depressurized down to vacuum before the point at which the hooks will be commanded open at 2:36 a.m. Central Time, about a minute and a half before physical separation of the Soyuz from the Rosviet module. Hague, Ovchinin, and Almansoori will climb into their Russian Sokol launch and entry suits. They'll conduct leak checks on their suits, other systems checks. The seating configuration in the descent module will have Ovchinin as the Soyuz commander in the center seat of the Soyuz descent module under the call sign of Burlock. That is the call sign that you'll be hearing the Russian mission control team in Korolyov call when they're speaking to Ovchinin on board the Soyuz spacecraft. Burlock is the name of persons who hauled barges and other vessels upstream during the 17th to 20th century time frame in the Russian Empire. That's what Ovchinin took as his call sign for his Soyuz back on March 15th for launch, and again will be the call sign that you'll hear between Russian mission control and Ovchinin during the entry and landing phase of tonight's operations. The leak checks will precede the command to open the hooks holding the Russian Soyuz MS-12 spacecraft to the Roscosmos module. It will take about 90 seconds for those hooks to open, and once they do, then springs on both sides of the docking interface will push off against one another to enable the Soyuz to physically separate, with undocking scheduled at 2:37 and 30 seconds a.m. Central Time. The separation rate will be at about 0.1 meters per second. 3 minutes after physical separation, there'll be an 8-second burn of the Soyuz engines to increase the opening rate from the International Space Station. That separation burn at 2:40 a.m. Central Time, that will enable the Soyuz to move to a distance well away from the station for the deorbit burn. That will enable Hague, Ovchinin, and Almansoori to begin the trek back to Earth through the Earth's atmosphere. The deorbit burn, which will be 4 minutes, 42 seconds in duration, will be a retrograde firing, a braking maneuver, if you will, to slow the Soyuz down by 128 meters per second, enabling it to drop out of orbit for its entry back into the Earth's atmosphere. The deorbit burn scheduled at 5:06 and 19 seconds a.m. Central Time, Thursday morning. Once again, tonight's homecoming for Hague and Ovchinin, along with Almansoori. For Hague and Ovchinin, it represents a closure, coming full circle from their launch abort back on October 11th of 2018, when they were launched on the Soyuz MS-10 spacecraft. 2 minutes after launch, there was a problem with the physical jettisoning of one of the strap-on boosters on the first stage of their Soyuz rocket. That resulted in a launch abort. The launch escape system pulled their Soyuz spacecraft free of the booster underneath them, resulting in a suborbital trajectory, even though they physically did reach the fringes of space under the international flight rules, and thus constituted a flight into space, albeit just 19 minutes in duration. They safely parachuted to a landing not far from where their landing site will be tonight, southeast of Zhezkazgan, where they were quickly recovered by the Russian search and recovery forces. They were flown back to their launch site in Baikonur in Kazakhstan. They were in good shape. The Soyuz did exactly what it was scheduled to do, what it was intended to do in the event of a launch abort. And soon thereafter, in the days ahead, they were reassigned to fly on the Soyuz MS-12 along with Christina Cook, who will remain on board the station for an extended flight that will span 328 days. Cook not scheduled to return home until February 6th, 2020, along with Luca Parmitano, the new station commander, and Alexander Skvortsov. And there's a view of the hatchway to the Soyuz MS-12. You're looking inside the Roscosmos module. Soon you'll see the crew members gathering for their final farewells with one another. That will see Hague, Ovchinin, and Almansoori say goodbye to their 6 colleagues. Almansoori having arrived on board just 8 days ago for a short duration flight under the intergovernmental agreement between the United Arab Emirates and Roscosmos. He will be returning with an 8-day mission that has spanned 128 orbits of the Earth, a mission of 3.3 million miles, while Ovchinin and Hague will be completing 203 days in space and aboard the International Space Station, a mission spanning 3,248 orbits of the Earth and 86.1 million miles. And back outside, while we wait for the crew members to gather in the Rassvet module, this is the Soyuz MS-12 that launched back on March 15th Baikonur time, March 14th U.S. time, docking to the Rassvet module on the Earth-facing side of the International Space Station 6 hours after launch.
Excellent. And I'm going to activate recording mode right now. Yes, you are go. And you are go to start the ceremony. However, transfer hatch closure will be on Moscow go. It's on work.
The International Space Station currently flying over the Indonesian island chain from southwest to northeast. Soon will fly directly over Manila in the Philippines. This Soyuz vehicle, which will undock from the station a little over 3 hours from now, is one of 3 Russian Soyuz vehicles at the station to accommodate the voluminous number of crew members on board the complex at the moment.
This is Alexander. Are we go to start? Yes, you are go to start hatch closure ceremony. And after that, we will proceed with transfer hatch closure. All right, we're starting now.
Alexey Ovchinin, the Soyuz commander, who will be in the center seat of the MS-12 vehicle, guiding that vehicle to its entry and landing. He is wrapping up his 3rd flight into space. There is Hazzaa Ali Almansoori from the United Arab Emirates. And NASA astronaut Nick Hague. Hague will be in the left seat of the Soyuz. As board engineer number 1, Almansoori will be on the right side of Ovchinin in the right seat as board engineer number 2 for tonight's entry and landing.
Guys, we see you. The video quality is excellent. We wanted to wish you a successful landing and good flight. So guys, we'll see you on the ground, and you're going to proceed with hatch closure. Copy, and we'll proceed with hatch closure.
And the 3 returning crew members now inside the Soyuz spacecraft, where they will close the hatch, do preliminary systems checks. The Soyuz systems were activated a couple of hours ago, so the Soyuz is now on autonomous power. Alexander Skvortsov will supervise the closing of the station hatch. The Soyuz MS-12 that is departing the station a few hours from now, and there you see the hatch closing at 11:20 p.m. Central Time. The Soyuz hatch is now closed. The Soyuz crew on their side of the docking interface will conduct leak checks over the course of the next 2 orbits of the Earth, as Skvortsov now prepares to close the station hatch on the Rosviet side. Acknowledging his crewmates with pounding of his hand on the hatch, signaling that everything is good on the station side of the docking interface. Still docked to the station following the departure of the MS-12 are 2 other vehicles, the Soyuz MS-13 spacecraft that arrived back in July, originally docked to the aft port of the Zvezda service module, which was relocated to the Poisk module on the space-facing side of the Russian segment of the station a few weeks ago. And the Soyuz MS-15 spacecraft that is now docked to the aft port of Zvezda that arrived last week.
Moscow Station on Space to Ground 1, Space to Ground 2. The hatch is closed. And we confirm. We see it in our telemetry. Transmit button is pressed down, so you'll be able to hear everything. Burlaki, how do you read me? I read you loud and clear, and how me? Loud and clear as well. And we're on page 28. Copy.
Так, страница 28.
Page 28.
Выдаем D7.
I'm sending D7 command.
ССВП. Так.
SSVP docking and internal transfer system. S15 command send.
Принято.
Copy.
Так, есть. S15.
And with the hatch closed, the crew that is now inside the Soyuz MS-12, led by Russian cosmonaut and Soyuz commander Alexey Ovchinin, they have powered up the docking mechanism. That is the first step in their procedures that will lead to their donning of their Sokol launch and entry suits, conducting leak checks at the docking interface before the depressurization occurs in the small vestibule or passageway that connects the Soyuz with the Rosviet module of the International Space Station.
Transfer hatch closed. S11 not illuminated. Send in S16 command.
Выдали
S-16 command sent. SSVP LED is illuminated. Sending D8 command. Copy.
Так, транспарант ССВП погас.
SSVP LED is off.
Открываем РПВ.
Opening RPV 1, airflow regulator 1. Preliminary stage closed. Preliminary stage. Open. RPV 1, airflow regulator 1 is open. And then activating KRD main and backup on Bruce, SI manual control unit. And you're go to open EPIC-KRD oxygen.
This is Mission Control Houston as we look at the Soyuz MS-12 in the center section of that spacecraft are three astronauts and cosmonauts: Nick Hague of NASA, Alexey Ovchinin of Roscosmos, Hazzaa Ali Almansoori of the United Arab Emirates, as they begin their preliminary procedures leading to the undocking of that spacecraft from the Rosviet module, scheduled at 2:37 and 30 seconds a.m. Central Time, 3:37 and 30 seconds a.m. Eastern Time. Everything proceeding on track for their entry and landing, their return to Earth in the morning, Thursday morning, for a landing on the steppe of Kazakhstan, about 91 miles to the southeast of the remote town of Zhezkazgan. The Russian search and recovery forces and the NASA team embedded with them, leaving their hotel right now in Karaganda, soon to board an Antonov 26 fixed-wing aircraft to fly 2 hours from Karaganda down to Zhezkazgan, where they will board helicopters at the Zhezkazgan airstrip to fly to the landing site to assist in the recovery of the crew, their extraction, and their return to Karaganda, and their eventual flights back home. Nick Hague to board a NASA aircraft on Thursday for a flight back to Houston, while Ovchinin and Almansoori board a Gagarin cosmonaut training aircraft in Karaganda to fly back to Star City, Russia, to their training base. We will be back with undocking coverage on NASA television at 2 a.m. Central Time, 3 a.m. Eastern Time, as our coverage of the return of the Expedition 60 crew from the International Space Station back to Earth continues throughout the overnight hours. Until then, this is Mission Control Houston.